Joining me today on NYSE Floor Talk is Hooman Shahidi. He is the CEO and co-founder at EVPassport. Hooman, fantastic to have you here. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks so much for having me.
My pleasure. So why don't we start off by talking about the company. What is EVPassport?
Sure. EVPassport is an electric vehicle hardware software company centered around our infrastructure as a service platform, which really removes the barriers for EV adoption by creating a seamless subscription platform for asset holders to be able to deploy this necessary piece of infrastructure.
The company started in 2020 and you've experienced substantial growth. So what has it been like? Tell me about your journey as a co-founder and CEO of a $200 million company. What has it been like?
It's been a lot of fun. You know, when the pandemic rolled around and people were trying new sourdough recipes or TikTok dances, we decided to take on infrastructure's greatest challenge. And it's been really, really fun. No short of hard work, but it's been a blast. And really, we focused on creating simplicity, right? I mean, as you know, in anything in life, it's really easy to create complexity, but to actually simplify things is quite difficult. And that's exactly what we did. And so for us, we've been really focused on 4 key verticals: multifamily, hospitality, retail, and commercial workplace. And that's really where the bulk of our enterprise customers are. And as a result of it, we've been able to expand to 35 states, 3 countries, and have thousands of chargers in our network. And we're so excited about this infrastructure as a service platform, which really makes things quite easy.
Now, as an industry CEO and also a member of the Zero Emission Transportation Association, you have a unique perspective on factors shaping the EV charging market in the US. Tell me, how do you see the market evolving over the next 5 years?
I think, you know, it's funny, we've got Ford here on the floor here today. They're a huge part of that story, and I share that because when the Ford Lightning came out, it was the car that sort of won the heartland, right? It was no longer that electric vehicles were a fad, but rather this moment that everybody needed to come on board. And it wasn't just a nice to have, but rather a need to have. And so for me, I think the industry is going to completely double down on that. And not to mention with ESG playing such an important role for company guidance, both public and private. And it's, you know, a simple way for us to get there is through the, you know, deployments of this necessary infrastructure. It's a great amenity. And so I think people are really realizing that electric vehicle and the infrastructure tied to it is here to stay. And the next 5 years, we're going to see that compounded growth driven by those folks that deliver a seamless solution.
How important is public and private sector collaboration in supporting charging infrastructure needs as EV adoption increases? And tell me, what does effective collaboration look like from your perspective?
It's absolutely critical. In fact, the collaboration between the public sector and the private sector and public initiatives set by Washington and other municipalities, also states, is really the lifeblood of how we're going to drive enablement. And I think, you know, when we look at the tone set by this current administration, we're quite happy with what they've done. But really, it's about education. I think that's the most important challenge in front of us, making sure that we continuously educate the public around, you know, what does it mean to actually plug in? What are the necessary steps to deploy this very critical infrastructure? And driving that collaboration is much more than creating, you know, economic subsidies, but it's rather how do we create effective programs that create new innovation, right? It's not just about product innovation, but rather business innovation. And Washington has a real opportunity to set the tempo on that.
And finally, Hooman, tell me, what are new industry challenges or critical EV charging issues impacting people and companies today? And how is this creating more opportunities for your business?
So the challenges are, you know, everybody has an opinion on EV charging. It's quite the political football at this juncture, but it's a necessary component of where we're going. And for us, you know, one of the biggest challenges is there's not enough folks out there. There's not enough master electricians. There's not enough folks in the trade world that make this come to life. And it's really, really important that we continue to invest those dollars in the supply chain with those laborers that are critical, both union and non-union. They're very part of this equation. And it's really important that we take that into our broader strategy. So when we think about what's ahead, I couldn't be more excited. But, you know, if it wasn't, you know, difficult, it wouldn't be rewarding.
Hooman, it's been wonderful to talk with you. Thanks for joining me on Floor Talk today.
Thanks so much for having me.